On Friday, February 25th, Governor Youngkin released a statement condemning the recent bomb threats to Virginia's historically black colleges and universities, such as the one received at Hampton University on Wednesday the 23rd and Norfolk State University on Friday the 25th, preceding the governor's statement. Colleagues will recall that I addressed this issue of the bomb threats to HBCUs at the beginning of Black History Month and the context in which these threats were being received. Further, NSU had received an earlier threat in January, yet there was no call for action to protect the institution. In his statement, the governor said he intends to ask this body to pass emergency funding for, quote, security and campus safety, end of quote. While I agree that it is imperative we fund these measures and intend to vote for any legislation doing so, I find it ironic that the governor is quick to respond in a reactive manner while pushing legislation and executive orders that deny this body and the educators of the Commonwealth the ability to act in a proactive manner. Executive Order 1, which you have heard me condemn both on the floor of the Senate and in committees throughout the session, specifically prohibits the teaching of any history that threatens to cause an individual by virtue of his or her race, skin color, ethnicity, sex, or faith to believe they bear responsibility for actions committed in the past by other members of the same race, ethnicity, sex, or faith. Given that the individuals carrying out these bomb threats have been identified by the FBI as tech-savvy juveniles, and these threats appear to be racially motivated, I ask, how did those young people learn such hatred that they would threaten the lives of thousands of people? That, my friends, is rooted in history. As an educator, it has never been my intent that the white students who enter my classes are made to feel responsible for the actions of their forefathers. But it is my responsibility to make them aware of the facts and impacts of those actions. In a public education committee last week, one senator raised concerns about white mothers who called to complain that lessons being taught about enslavement caused their sons to feel shame. Well, imagine Ruby Bridges' shame. Oh, by the way, Ruby Bridges was 6 years old, as she was spat on and picketed for simply walking into a school. Or my niece's shame for being told just 2 years ago in an honors history class by a white teacher that her class they were all going to work at 7-Eleven, or calling her school a ghetto school. It was further stated that some of these mothers were offended over the teachings on the impacts of white privilege and unearned advantages, and mothers were worried it caused discomfort for white students, some who returned home in tears upon learning of their history, a history that includes facts about young black children who never returned home to their mothers because they were murdered by racists who were offended that black children would dare to reach for an education. I will never celebrate the sadness or shame of any student, but I do believe there are important lessons that accompany it. The truth must be told, and we are all responsible for telling it. African-American poet Maya Angelou once wrote, "History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again." And today, I hope this quote will inspire others in this body to stand alongside me and demand that we end this misguided attempt to hide our history under the guise of divisive concepts, and urge each of you to call upon the hypocrisy of Governor Youngkin. The security of our HBCUs comes not in the form of armed guards and bomb-sniffing dogs, but in the classrooms of the Commonwealth, where we face honestly the history of these attacks, where we encourage empathy and understanding from white students who must understand how the actions of ancestors have long-reaching consequences, some of which we still suffer today. Campus security should not have to rest in the hands of law enforcement officers, but in the hands of school administrators across this Commonwealth who are bold enough to teach the hard lessons, to face the wrenching pain so their students do not grow up to repeat the actions of the past, including making bomb threats to HBCUs. Thank you, Madam President.